A very good morning to all of you. Welcome back to the channel. So here we're starting with the analysis video for 25th of August 2023. So Modi and Z, they call for speedy disengagement along the line of actual control. So both the prime minister and the presidents, they met on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. So Modi says that respecting the LAC, it is a must for normalization of the relations. And this is their first such conversation on the standoff. So let's see how speedily it would be done in future. And apart from this, I've already raised what are the possible and the important dimensions related to BRICS. We have talked about India's stand that we favor BRICS expansion. And BRICS, it is finally decided that 6 new members would be added to the grouping. So this is a landmark decision, and 6 new countries would be added into the fold. And this is the 15th BRICS summit happening at Johannesburg in South Africa. So the Prime Minister says they're adding up more countries. It is going to add up the strength to the grouping and increase confidence in the idea of multipolar world order. And apart from this, another important thing is that BRICS can be an important platform for the voice of Global South as well. Then Chandrayaan rover, it has begun the mobility operations, says ISRO. So for us, our next focus is going to be the chemical reactions and their results that would be done on the lunar surface. So ISRO chairman says that there are 2 instruments in the rover and 3 instruments on board the lander, and all of them, they have been switched on sequentially. So our mission has been successful. Now we are waiting for the results. So government portal says कि जो RTI details missing है, they would be restored. So here again, जब हम RTI की बात करते हैं आज के टाइम में, what are the pending RTI reforms? Relevance of RTI आज के टाइम में, and since we see कि platform पे RTI details, they are only missing. So again, this is again raising questions over the efficacy and the effectiveness of RTI. So we need to work upon here, because RTI again is very important pillar when we talk about again the democracy of India. And then we're seeing still the cases of honor killing happening openly. So death penalty for a daughter. Allegedly, she was killed by her parents and brother for marrying a person from her own village and of another caste. So both taboos there exist in Haryana, which is a land with farming, cattle, wealth. And this is, we can say, one of the continued challenges that females, they have to face. So what about their fundamental rights? When we see that caste interest and all of that, it comes into their basic rights. That forget about basic rights, the right to livelihood, sorry, their right to life is at risk. Coming to editorial section, so India's G20 opportunity for an African renaissance. So when we talk about India-Africa relations, so firstly, you need to also think about what has been the developmental initiatives taken up by India in African continent. Now, when we talk about कि क्या challenges exist करते for Africa, so in general, जब हम बात करते हैं Sahel region की भी, तो firstly, Atlas के perspective map work related, it is important. So we are seeing कि it is passing through several existential challenges. जब आप बात करते हो misgovernance की, unplanned development आपको देखने को मिल रहा है. It's seeing dominance of the ruling tribes and corruption is prevalent widely. So these are some of the existential challenges that the African continent is going through, specifically the Sahel region. And of late, we've also seen new disruptors in the form of Islamic terror, intertribal scrimmage, and challenging the climate, runaway food inflation. We are seeing urbanization, youth unemployment is on high, and this has further strained the traditional socio-political fabric of the continent. And then talk about African nationalists, they took pride in the continent having seen the last of the generals in power. So when we talk about the war in Sudan, even there the situation is volatile. And then military coup in Niger. Apart from this, we see the past decade, we've seen generals coming back in countries like Egypt, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and this, how you can see mention of Libya and Sudan, they have split and they are vying for supremacy. So we are basically seeing returning of generals. So again, democracy is at risk in the African continent. So this is another challenge, how India would be dealing with such political setup and ensuring that it is doing its best in order to, be having good relations or be it for the developmental purpose. And at the same time, हमें ये भी देखने को मिल रहा है कि international support is also eroding. So in that case, we see कि African problems, they are further compounded by an erosion in the international support base as well. So herein, again, we can say कि this can be an opportunity for India. And like we see, China has been Africa's largest trading partner. So this is another challenge for India. And राइट नाउ वैसे की जो चाइनीज इकोनॉमी है वो स्लो डाउन हो रही है, तो अगेन कहीं ना कहीं हम देख सकते हैं कि चाइना का जो फोकस रहने वाला है मोर ऑफन या इट वुड बी मोर कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड टुवर्ड्स देयर डोमेस्टिक इकोनॉमी. सो यहाँ पे अगेन वी गेट अनदर अपॉर्चुनिटी. एंड देन चाइना के कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स की बात करें, बेल्ट एंड रोड इनिशिएटिव दैट हैज रेज्ड द डेट्स ऑफ सम ऑफ द अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज टू अनसस्टेनेबल लेवल्स. सो दिस इज again prevalent even in case of Africa also. So Baki countries, they are also under the grip, and this is more true even in case of Africa as well. Then Russia had previously promoted the Wagner group in Africa also as a shortcut for the security, but after the militia's mutiny against the Kremlin and the death of its chief in an air crash on Wednesday, this we saw, we see the situation, it is unclear now. So Russia, which is under the Western economic sanctions, hosted an African summit also, and there we saw कि इतना ज़्यादा मतलब good response देखने को नहीं मिला था. Then even from the perspective of mineral wealth of Africa, the importance of Africa increases. And again, European countries में अगर हम बात करें तो उनके लिए challenge है stopping the illegal migration that is happening from Africa. So given all these, the current situation challenges kya hai, how even geopolitics is changing as far as Africa is concerned, when we are seeing China being one of the major and the largest trading partner and the investor, but domestically their economy is slowing down. So that is one of the opportunities for India to, increase its engagement and strengthen ties with several African countries. But baki challenges bhi exist karte at the same time. Now जब हम बात करते हैं India Africa relationship की, तो India's ties with Africa, they are deep, diverse, harmonious, that range from even जब आप history से भी अगर आप you'll think about, so you can go to the time period of Mahatma Gandhi's his satyagraha against apartheid to the United Nations peacekeeping role that India has played an important role herein. Although we now import less oil from Africa and we sell few agricultural products there, but India-Africa trade, it has reached $98 billion in 2022-23. And जब हम बात करते हैं इंडिया की investments की और बाकी socio-economic engagements with Africa, that also remains robust, especially जब हम बात करते हैं sectors like education, healthcare, telecom, IT, appropriate technology, and agriculture. So India was the 5th largest investor in Africa, and we have extended over $12.37 billion in concessional loans to African countries. And we have completed 197 projects there, and we have provided 42,000 scholarships since 2015. So approximately we can say that 3 million people have of Indian origin जो Africa में रहते हैं, and they are Africa's largest non-native ethnicity at the same time. So this has been our ties with Africa and India. We are right now, we are also placed well to leverage the comprehensive profile with Africa to help continent either bilaterally हम help कर सकते or even multilaterally through forums. So we are seeing कि India right now we are hosting the G20 summit. So even that is going to provide us an historic opportunity to up the ante. So right now, India majorly focus कर सकता है on restoring political stability in the African continent. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस जो इंडिया की इनोवेशंस हैं, चाहे आप जैम ट्रिनिटी की बात करें या टीबीटी, डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर्स एंड यूपीआई पेमेंट्स, एंड जब आप एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट प्रोग्राम की बात करते हैं, लर्निंग्स फ्रॉम दैट, तो अगेन वी कैन यूज देम एज फोर्स मल्टीप्लायर्स and target investments and transfers of the relevant appropriate in these are all the Indian innovations in Africa. So an important question is, क्या CGI को part होना चाहिए of the committee that would be selecting the chief election commissioner or not? So सबसे पहले question आता है कि independence of election commission of India is very important. Its autonomy, its autonomous functioning, that is very important because it's a very important body when we talk about conducting free and fair elections in India. So to ensure कि जो right to vote है, that is exercised properly, that's why even Election Commission of India, it has to be independent of the executive. So recently एक bill propose किया गया है and we are seeing कि here in the opinion we have two important people. O.P. Rawat sir is the former chief election commissioner and Jagdeep Jogar is a founding member of Association for Democratic Reforms. So question raised किया गया कि according to chief election commissioner and other election commissioners bill 2023, cabinet minister, he would be made part of this selection committee instead of the CGI. So इसका मतलब ये होगा कि जो दो members होंगे इस committee में, they would be from the ruling dispensation, from the ruling party. So क्या ये कहीं ना कहीं autonomy of Election Commission of India को affect करेगा, because here these people would be from the ruling party, तो it is believed कि it would lead to political interference in the functioning, in the independent functioning of ECI. So यहाँ पे issue ये नहीं है, issue before the Supreme Court is कि basically government जब कोई भी law enact करती है या promise करती है, तो obviously that needs to be in accordance with the constitution. So court ने ये बोला है कि जब government law बनाएगी, then जो suggested panel है वो select करेगा CEC and ECs को. So constitution के according ही Supreme Court के लिए basically issue ये है कि once that law या जो बिल प्रपोज किया गया that becomes a law, तो उसके बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट it has the power to judicially review constitutionality of every law. So यहाँ पे मेन इशू ये है, तो once it becomes a law, उसके बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट can go ahead with the judicial review and checking whether that is constitutional or not. तो जब तक कि ये लॉ नहीं बन जाता है तब तक अगेन सुप्रीम कोर्ट अपनी पावर्स यूज नहीं कर सकता है. So एक और suspicion है कि whether now election commission will be more amenable to the executive's wishes or not. So again एक और judgment 2017 की, there is one of the judgments when there was no law, तो कोई law exist नहीं करता था, executive it used to appoint the CECs and the election commissioners. So Supreme Court observed कि although parliament it has not enacted any law नहीं बनाया गया, तब भी executive is appointing the CECs and ECs. So जो appointment उस time पे की गई थी, we have seen कि so far they have been fair and politically neutral. तो हम ये नहीं बोल सकते कि mere presence of the political people or the people from the ruling dispensation would worsen the things, because in the past जब law भी नहीं exist कर रहा था and again executive was taking the decisions in terms of appointing the CECs. So according to one of the Supreme Court judgments, the judgment was कि so far जितनी भी appointments हुई हैं, they have been fair and वो politically neutral हैं. So this is basically we can say a thin line exists, but that distinction and that gap has been maintained and political interference नहीं देखी गई है in terms of appointments of CECs. So India and the Northern Sea route. So this is an important topic again, and yes, map work is also important. That's why you are having a detailed map in front of you. So significance of Arctic region, India के लिए क्या है? Why is India involved in the Murmansk cargo traffic, and how long has India been engaged with the Arctic region, historically? And what is NSR? The Northern Sea Route क्या है? Then how does Russia ensure कि जो navigability है NCR की, that is maintained, yeah, it keeps functioning. And then how does the Vladivostok maritime corridor impact this Northern Sea Route? So बहुत सारे dimensions है. सबसे पहले map समझते हैं. So this is the Kara Sea. Here you can see Kara Sea, and उसके अलावा this is the North Pole. Western part of the NSR is this is the eastern part of the Northern Sea Route, and that is basically here you have the Barents Sea, Laptev Sea. तो जितनी भी sea हैं, bays located हैं, long straits है, islands located है, Wrangel Island कौन सी country को belong करते हैं, ये हमारे लिए important हो जाता है. And obviously जब हम even mineral explorations की भी बात करते हैं तो we get reserves of LNG, gas condensates and coal in the Northern Sea. So this is how basically high latitude transit route is through this blue dotted line represent कर रहा है. Northern Sea route जो है, this is the solid blue line ये represent कर रहा है the Northern Sea route. So that's how it is flowing. दो basically routes हैं यहाँ पे. We are getting fish, light oil products, containerized cargo यहाँ से flow कर रहा है. So you can also locate कौन कौन सी countries के through it is flowing. तो ये यहाँ पे आके कहीं ना कहीं end हो जाता है. And NSR water area boundary is this red dotted line. So this is the boundary of the Northern Sea route. All right. So यहाँ पे भी एक strait located है. This is the Northern Land Archipelago, and here you have the strait. So ये आपको again even direction के हिसाब से भी आपको locate करना, east to west location of different states becomes important. So let's discuss this in more detail. So Murmansk, which is popularly called the capital of the Arctic region and the beginning point of the Northern Sea route, it is witnessing the rising trend of the Indian involvement in the cargo traffic. So that's how India की current engagement and involvement increase हो रही है in the region. India जो cargo traffic में उसमें ज़्यादा involvement देखने को मिल रही है. So the first 7 months 2023 के बात करें तो India got the lion's share of 35% of the 8 million tons of cargo जो handle किया गया by the Murmansk port, which is about 2000 kilometers northwest of Moscow. So India has been showing greater interest regarding the NSR for a variety of reasons. So if we locate this port, northwestern region, the Murmansk port here, if it is located on the map, so here it is. So this is the port, which is near to the Barents Sea, and it is on the Kola Peninsula. All right. So why is Arctic region India के लिए important क्यों है? So vulnerability of Arctic region we are seeing it is above the Arctic Circle and it includes the Arctic Ocean with the North Pole at its center. And we are seeing कि because of the climate change जो glaciers है ice melt हो रही है, तो उसकी वजह से we are seeing कि the region is becoming more navigable. So ये इंडिया के लिए कहीं ना कहीं हमें इम्पैक्ट कर सकते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ आवर इकोनॉमिक सिक्योरिटी, वाटर सिक्योरिटी एंड सस्टेनेबिलिटी. एंड जो रीजन है दिस इज आल्सो द लार्जेस्ट अनएक्सप्लोर्ड प्रोस्पेक्टिव एरिया फॉर द हाइड्रोकार्बन्स व्हिच आर देयर ऑन द अर्थ. तो ये एक्सप्लोरेशन एक्टिविटीज और की जा सकती है बिकॉज इट इज becoming much more accessible. And जो ये region है, northern region, Arctic region, it holds 40% of the current global reserves of oil and gas. So again, energy security के लिए this is it is going to be an important area. And जो हमारी Arctic policy है 2022 वो भी कहीं ना कहीं mention करती है our approach of economic development in the region which is guided by UN Sustainable Development Goals. So again जो even हमारा developmental plan है economic development के perspective से भी that is guided by sustainability. जब बात करें कि कब से we are seeing कि India की engagement is there in this region, so we see कि it can be traced to the signing of the Svalbard Treaty in 1920 in Paris, and we are undertaking बहुत सारे scientific studies हमने की है, research किया in the Arctic region. So this is basically different domains like atmospheric, biological, marine, hydrological, glaciological studies हमने carry out करी है since 1920. आप बोल सकते हो कि formal तरीके से we have been engaged with this region. And we are having different research stations named as Himadri, and then we have Himadri is located at Svalbard. In 2008 इसको establish किया गया. And then we also launched multi-sensor mode observatory in northernmost atmospheric laboratory 2014-16 में respectively. And we have carried out 13 expeditions to the Arctic. These were successfully conducted. And 2013 में इंडिया को ऑब्जर्वर स्टेटस भी दिया गया इन द आर्कटिक काउंसिल. So अब नॉर्दर्न सी रूट क्या है? So it is the shortest shipping route for free transportation between Europe and countries of Asia Pacific region. Straddles 4 seas of the Arctic Ocean. तो 4 important seas हैं, you can see. यहाँ से start करते हैं Barents Sea, then we have the Kara Sea, have the Laptev Sea, and then we have lastly the Chuki Sea. And ये थोड़ी outside है, outside this boundary. So 4 important seas, they are a part of it. Northern Sea Route. All right, so it runs around 5,600 kilometers. It begins at the boundary between the Barents and the Kara Sea, so the Kara Strait, and it ends at Bering Strait. So यहाँ से again, Barents Sea यहाँ से start होता है and somewhere ends around the Barents Strait. यहाँ पे Long Strait located है. Wrangel Island. So ये सारी चीजें important हो जाती है from the perspective of map work as well. So we see कि जो distance savings है, again ये short distance route है, तो that's why it is considered strategically be important for the countries. So distance savings along this route, it can be as high as 50% compared to the currently जो use route जो हम use कर रहे हैं for the shipping lanes via the Suez Canal and the Panama. So 50% of distance saving possible through this route. So how is Russia making this region or this route much more navigable? Russia का क्या role है? So जो seas हैं of the Arctic Ocean that remains ice-bound during most of the year, ice-breaking assistance it is organized to ensure कि safe navigation carry out की जाए. So Russia एक it is the only country in the world वहाँ जहाँ हम देखते हैं nuclear powered icebreaker fleet according to Rosatom State Nuclear Energy Corporation. So this is the NSR infrastructure operator. So world's first nuclear icebreaker 1959 से it is named Lenin. It was put into operation, unveiling new chapter in the Northern Sea Route के development में. So driving factors क्या है for India to participate in the Northern Sea Route development? So primary तो हमारे लिए जो important है, जो हमारा primary interest है, that is growth in the cargo traffic along the NSR, and constantly we are rising. हमारा engagement, हमारा share is increasing, and apart from this, जो growth rate that was around 73%. So cargo traffic volumes are also on the rise. So India, it is increasingly importing crude oil and coal from Russia in recent years, specifically after the Ukraine war. So kahin na kahin, we are again, our ties with Russia have been always good, but with this, we can say key ties have been strengthened. So record supplies of energy resources for the Indian economy possible due to such a reliable and safe transport artery as the NSR. So this can be one of the major important, we can say, benefit for India out of it. Secondly, NSR की बात करें तो it is important given India की जो geographical position है and major share of जो trade है that is associated with sea transportation. तो again northern sea route because it is a shorter route compared to the Suez Canal वाला route. तो again यहाँ पे we can make our exports much more competitive. Thirdly, we see जो Chennai Vladivostok Maritime Corridor project है between India and Russia. So we're seeing an outcome of signing of the memorandum of intent between the two countries, India and Russia, and both को बताया है, and it is being examined as one linking with another organize the international container transit through this route. So basically, we can leverage this NSR route to organize international container transit route as well. So Sea of Japan, again, ये जो route है from Chennai to Vladivostok, Sea of Japan आती है, South China Sea, Malacca Strait. So again, आपको इसकी geography, atlas, इसकी location समझना काफी important हो जाता है. So what is the future then? Future mein, what are the other opportunities that lie ahead? So NSR development plan until 2035. It has been approved by the Chinese by the Russia's government last year, and it sets the cargo traffic target at 80 million tons and 150 million tons for 2024 and 30. So plan approval took place amid the economic sanctions जो impose किए गए थे by the West on Russia, and Indian businesses community के साथ भी meetings हुई हैं of Russian counterparts regarding the development of this route. So basically, India would be providing availability of key components. So that's how India is involved in this region. So this is very, very important topic. And again, rivers का भी आप देख सकते हो, which all rivers they flow into the Arctic Ocean. So यहाँ पे आप Lena River देख सकते हो. Then we have another river which is flowing in here. तो डिसोल्यूशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 पे सीजीआई ने बोला है कि जो मीन्स यूज्ड किए जाते हैं दे मस्ट बी कंसिस्टेंट विद द एंड्स अचीव्ड. तो मीन्स एंड एंड्स दे नीड टू बी कंसिस्टेंट विद ईच अदर. So he says कि गवर्नमेंट मीन्स को जस्टिफाई नहीं कर सकती है टू डिसॉल्व आर्टिकल 370 फ्रॉम द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड इरेज जम्मू एंड कश्मीर एज अ फुल फ्लेजेड स्टेट बाय सिंपली पॉइंटिंग टू द एंड्स अचीव्ड. तो अगर आप ये बोल रहे हो कि जो एंड्स मतलब जो प्रोग्रेस हमने देखी है, जो पीस हमने देखा है आफ्टर द एबॉलिशन ऑफ दिस आर्टिकल, तो आप उसको मीन्स को जस्टिफाई करने के लिए यूज नहीं कर सकते हो कि जिस जो प्रोसेस आपने अडॉप्ट किया वो जस्टिफाइबल नहीं हो जाएगा बिकॉज ऑफ द एंड्स जो आपने अचीव किए. सो बोथ ऑफ देम नीड्स टू बी कंसिस्टेंट. एंड अगेन ये पॉसिबल नहीं है कि इफ जो एंड्स हमने अचीव किए वो उसकी वजह से हमें काफी ज्यादा डेवलपमेंट बेटरमेंट देखने को मिली है, इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ देखने को मिली है इन जम्मू एंड कश्मीर. So again, that cannot be used to justify the means used to abolish Article 370. So this has been clearly stated by the CGI. So Pragyan rover के ऊपर यहाँ पे proper detailed infographics available है. Again, you can just quickly go through it. All the minute details are mentioned. It weighs 26 kgs and rover speed is 1 centimeter per second. So that's how it looked. We have the solar panel installed, so it is operating with the solar power. So this is the rover that we have. So fly me to the moon seems to be the global ambition in 2023. So जब हम बाकी countries की भी बात करते हैं उनके missions की, of late piece of की जो रशिया का Luna 25 mission था, that crash landed on the lunar surface, and India's mission has been successful. So in future we'll be seeing even Japan going to the lunar surface. So globally we are seeing countries, dedicatedly working upon the lunar missions. So farmers and workers body, they are planning protest against the center. So what is their demand? Let's understand that. So in all India joint convention, the workers and the farmers have been organized by 10 central trade unions and the Samyukt Kisan Morcha. They've decided that they will be launching protest against the union government. कि जो policies हैं in December and January ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. So the convention, it highlighted agricultural crisis India में the farmers are suffering through due to the pro-corporate anti-farmer policies of the union government. So मतलब broadly they feel कि जो policies लाई जाती है, they are more in favor of the corporate world and they are anti-farmer. So instead जैसे बात की जाती थी कि we had the goal of doubling the farmers income, तो instead we are seeing कि जो farmers income है that is falling. We are seeing there is rising indebtedness amongst the farmers communities, societies are on the rise. So erosion of workers' rights through the new labor codes and the deteriorating condition of agriculture and the migrant workers. They're not having benefits like social security and they're pushed into poverty. So these are some of the concerns that they would be highlighting. So top 10% and top 1% in India, they hold 72% and 40.5% of the total national income respectively. So top 10% people, they hold 72% of our total wealth. So you can imagine the level and the scale of social and the economic inequality that exists in India. So Indian Air Force की efficiency को enhance करने के लिए government will be buying the local weapons. मतलब weapons locally manufactured. So again, we can see this is push towards make in India and buying local or indigenous strength. So Project Shakti is there, it has been approved. So Prime Minister, he seeks level playing field for the smaller e-commerce companies. So noting key empowering smaller firms that can help in translating to societal empowerment. So Prime Minister, he said ki enhancing their participation global trade may, it has been priority of India's G20 presidency. So MSME's ka role again very, very important. And apart from this, we see कि MSMEs, they've accounted for 60 to 70% of employment in the country. 50% of GDP is contributed by the MSMEs. So you can see how we can basically, the MSME sector is so large, the network is so big. So उसको हम कैसे strengthen कर सकते हैं when you're seeing कि अगर 50% contribution GDP को जा रहा है, 70% around people, they're employed, they're engaged in the MSME sector. So again, माइक्रो लेवल पे जो challenges हैं उनको कैसे एड्रेस करके we can make this a robust and healthy functioning sector. So excess liquidity poses direct threat to the inflation. अभी कुछ दिन पहले हमने देखा था कि liquidity has declined after a very long time. So agar liquidity, there is excess liquidity in the economy, so again it is a direct threat to the inflation and economic stability as well. So observing key liquidity overhang in the banking system, it posed a risk to the inflation output. RBI Deputy Governor and he's also the MPC member, Michael Devapatra, he stressed कि RBI's जो primary focus है, it should be on withdrawal of excess liquidity. So अभी जो ऑफ लेटेस्ट एमपीसी मीटिंग हुई थी उसमें बोला गया था कि इंक्रीमेंटल सीआरआर है जो बैंक्स को मेंटेन करना पड़ेगा, तो उसकी वजह से वी सॉ कि लिक्विडिटी ड्राइड अप, क्योंकि जो ओवरनाइट मार्केट्स है, बोरोइंग मार्केट्स है, वहां पे डिमांड बहुत ज्यादा हो गई एंड दैट वाज वन ऑफ द रीजंस व्हाई लिक्विडिटी ड्राइड अप. So global trade में what are the barriers? Again, we are seeing कि जो non-tariff barriers हैं, their usage, their application is on the rise. And our Union Commerce and Industry Ministry, he said, the focus of G20 trade and investment ministerial meeting, it is to ease the barriers जो exist करते हैं in international trade and investment so that जो productivity and output वो increase हो सके and ensure prosperity and growth for all. So G20 nations, they collectively represent 80% of the world's GDP and they will seek to build an agreement on reforms in WTO. तो ये भी एक important area है. What are the reforms needed in WTO and even the dispute settlement mechanism that has also been, we can see कि long stalled. Coming to the Mint newspaper. So reads and invites, they get a SEBI focus. We see जो market regulator है, Securities Exchange Board of India, उन्होंने कुछ चेंजेस अप्रूव किए हैं इन द रूल्स गवर्निंग द रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट एंड द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट टू मेक देम मोर एक्सेप्टेबल टू द इन्वेस्टर्स. सो रीट्स एंड इनवाइट्स इंपॉर्टेंट क्यों है? तो ये कहीं ना कहीं फंक्शन लाइक अ म्यूचुअल फंड. सो स्पॉन्सर कैपिटल रेज करता है एंड इन्वेस्ट इट इन रियल एस्टेट और द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स. सो बोथ द इन्वेस्टमेंट्स कहीं ना कहीं पूलिंग व्हीकल्स है, जैसे अगेन म्यूचुअल फंड्स वो करते हैं. सो अगर आप पोर्टफोलियो की बात करो, जो रीट्स में होगा वो कहीं ना कहीं इन्वॉल्व करेगा लाइक ऑफिस पार्क्स, कंस्ट्रक्शन जो की जाती है, शॉपिंग मॉल्स, उनमें इन्वेस्टमेंट करना. एंड इनवाइट्स में वी कुड सी ट्रांसपोर्ट, एनर्जी, कम्युनिकेशन प्रोजेक्ट्स बीइंग अ पार्ट ऑफ दैट, एंड उसमें जो भी पैसा पूल किया जाएगा इन नेचर ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स में इन्वेस्ट किया जाता है. सो रीट्स की अगर हम बात करें, रियल स्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट, तो ये कहीं ना कहीं अलाउ करता है ओनली स्मॉलर रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स to own a portion of the income generating real estate properties that would otherwise be unaffordable. So similarly, invites की बात करें, infrastructure investment trust, it enables direct investment from the individual and institutional investors in the infrastructure projects. So REITs में basically smaller retail participation या investments allowed है. Invites में it is not the case. वो वहाँ पे आप freely invest कर सकते हो. So अगर हम दोनों की performance की बात करें, तो दोनों को 2019 में launch किया गया था. REITs we seen कि REITs को ज़्यादा popularity देखने को मिली है, but despite the challenges commercial office market में, REITs it has garnered steady rental income during the pandemic also. और इनवाइट्स की बात करें तो प्लेइंग फील्ड इज मच लार्जर इन दिस केस, क्योंकि अगेन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं तो नेचर इज वेरी ब्रॉड. सो वी आर सीइंग कि IRB इनवाइट फंड जो है, इट वाज द फर्स्ट इनवाइट लिस्टेड ऑन द स्टॉक मार्केट. एंड एम्बेसी ऑफिस पार्क्स REIT, ये था पहला रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट टू मेक अ डेब्यू इन 2019. तो सो फार अभी 4 REIT listings हुई हैं and roughly 21 are listed and unlisted invites right now. So beginning of 2023 में invites and REITs they've registered with SEBI. They had total assets under management of over rupees 3.5 trillion. So recently क्या SEBI ने changes किए हैं? So there we see कि nomination rights दी गई हैं to the unit holders of invites and REITs. They have changed the minimum unit holding requirement for the sponsors of these trusts and introduced the concept of self-sponsored investment managers. So time has been reduced for the public listing of such investment vehicles to 6 working days from the 12 days. So जो recently changes announce किए गए हैं, how they become important. So कहीं ना कहीं जो changes हैं, they aim at boosting the corporate governance and smooth operation of invites and REITs. And the move on the retail unit holder rights, it gives them a chance to get their views across as well. Again, अगर वो invest कर रहे तो they need to have again their recognition. And the principles of stewardship code, they will also now be applicable to all the unit holders, making them accountable. So again, how going forward REITs and invites कैसे important हो सकते हैं? So they have gained global acceptance as an asset class which is offering long-term yields. अगर आप long-term investments के बारे में कोई option सोच रहे हो, तो REITs and invites they are the best, and having performed well in the past also, past performance भी उनकी काफी अच्छी and promising रही है. So investor interest is likely to be high in investing in such funds. So going forward, we are expecting key investments are going to come in, and it could be at a larger in size as well. So basically हम focus कर रहे हैं on improving and enhancing the quality of the governance framework to make it more robust and higher investor interest आने वाले time में हमें देखने को मिल सकता है. So it is important to address all these things. Coming to Financial Express, so Prague we see falls in the final hurdle as Carlson wins, but again, his efforts and reaching till the finals, that shows his great performance. So ISRO's juggernaut opens up space for the big and the small firms. So again, इसके वजह से जो सक्सेस हमें देखने को मिली है चंद्रयान 3 मिशन की, इसके अब हमें मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट्स देखने को जरूर मिलेंगे. And Gaganyaan mission, again, this is going to be the next focus area. So possibly we're going to launch our first manned space mission by 2025. So Gulf Cooperation Council has approached India to restart the negotiations on free trade agreement, while कुछ ऐसे member countries हैं जिन्होंने बोला कि they want to individually sort the agreements. And again, this is obviously this will be an important market for India क्योंकि potential है and this remains unexplored. So European Union is conglomeration of 27 countries, so certainly it takes a little longer time in terms of building and forging consensus. So we are still the talks, they are going on as far as the free trade agreement with European Union is concerned. So government is set to lower market borrowing. So robust small savings receipts, that prompts the move. So small saving receipts have increased and 10-year government bond yield is at 7.2. So Union government is likely to lower its market borrowings in the second half and rely more on burgeoning small savings kitty to finance the budget fiscal deficit. So move is prompted by the robust small savings collections ज़्यादा देखने को मिल रहे हैं, so इसलिए गवर्नमेंट ने डिसाइड किया कि मार्केट बोरोइंग्स कम रखने वाले हैं. एंड दिस इज बिकॉज स्मॉल सेविंग्स में क्यों ज़्यादा इंक्रीज देखने को मिला है, दिस इज बिकॉज ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन एंड जिसकी वजह से इंटरेस्ट रेट्स जो हैं दे कुड बी एट अ हायर लेवल फॉर लिटिल लॉन्गर टाइम. सो ओवर द ईयर्स अगर हम ट्रेंड की बात करें तो सेंटर टिपिकली बोरो 60% जो सेंटर की बोरिंग रहती है दैट इज टारगेटेड इन द फर्स्ट हाफ एंड जो बैलेंस बचता था दैट इज टारगेटेड इन द सेकेंड हाफ. सो 40% सेकेंड हाफ में बोरो किया जाता है. सो स्टेट्स दे यूजुअली बोरो लार्जर पार्ट ऑफ द रिक्वायरमेंट्स इन सेकेंड हाफ. So national small savings schemes, they would help moderate the yields on the government securities and borrowing cost also. So the government securities पे जो yields है वो reduce हो जाएंगी तो again government के लिए वो benefit होता है क्योंकि वो government के लिए borrowing cost होती है. So this we've gone through about BRICS and 6 new countries becoming a part of it. So there's a WTO dispute between India and US on poultry. So this matter, along with some others, that is expected to figure during the bilateral meeting of the Commerce and Industry Minister and the US Trade Representative. So here we see that India and the US, they are looking to resolve the last remaining dispute at the WTO on restrictions imposed by New Delhi on the poultry imports. So India ने basically restrictions impose किया था on poultry imports. So both the countries, they have agreed that they will be resolving the 6 disputes, which are the pending disputes at WTO. So again, WTO का main objective यही है to ensure free and fair trade at the global level. So government is focused on green growth. अब green growth को आप कैसे interpret करोगे वो important हो जाता है. Suppose you have to write an answer on this, so you need to substantiate via giving illustrations or examples. So you need to think of green growth में आप क्या include करोगे. Green growth में obviously आप बात कर सकते हो प्रोजेक्ट्स लाइक ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन मिशन, आप ग्रीन फ्यूल की बात कर सकते हो, ग्रीन एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन की बात कर सकते हो इन टर्म्स ऑफ एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी, वो कैसे हमें प्रोवाइड करेगा आने वाले टाइम में. इसके अलावा जो और क्या होना चाहिए उसमें आप बात कर सकते हो. ग्रीन ग्रोथ में जो हमारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर या जो हाईवेज कंस्ट्रक्ट किए जाते हैं वहां पे अगेन इंस्टॉलेशन ऑफ solar panels in terms of operating the street lights, that can be green growth. एंड ग्रीन बॉन्ड्स के थ्रू फंड्स रेज करके आप उसको कैसे इन्वेस्ट करोगे, That would be also one of the possible dimensions. So here, this will provide a roadmap towards reducing the carbon intensity in the economy. So enabling creation of green job opportunities also. So green job opportunities be increase only. So this is one of the new areas that would be opening up for the people. So again, you need to now focus upon, you know, getting those green skills as well. So green hydrogen would be pivotal role play karegi. So B20 summit, this is under the raise that is responsible, accelerated, innovative, sustainable, and equitable businesses. So B20, India, you can see raise as a kind of theme. Keywords responsible, accelerated, innovative, sustainable, and equitable. So हमारे लिए B20 priorities क्या है? Inclusive GVCs for the resilient global trade and investment, future of work and skilling and mobility, digital transformation, financing for the global economic recovery, financial inclusion for economic empowerment, energy, climate change, resource efficiency, tech innovation, R&D, ESG in the business, African economic integration. So African economic integration पे हमने आज in detail बात करी है. So let's have a look at some of the newer topics that have not been covered up so far. So जब हम बैक स्टोरी की बात करते हैं, that is one of the major reasons behind the success of Chandrayaan-3 and soft landing on the lunar surface. So ISRO scientists they recall the toil behind the success. So breathing, sleeping Chandrayaan. So following the soft landing, Chandrayaan-3's lander module on the moon, ISRO scientists said कि lessons from the partial failure of जो Chandrayaan-2 mission में देखने को मिला था, that provided a stepping stone for the success during this time. So several ISRO scientists, they have spoken about जो efforts उन्होंने लिए to make sure कि mistakes जो की गई थी previously, they are not repeated this time. And उसी चीज ने कहीं ना कहीं helped reduce the probability of failure also to the minimum level. And that is very clear in terms of जितने नीटली एंड क्लीनली एंड सेफली सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग हमने अचीव किया है. तो कहीं ना कहीं फेलियर्स ने ही हमें हेल्प किया इन टर्म्स ऑफ गेटिंग द परफेक्टिंग द methodology of landing. So lessons from failures are much more important instead of reaping about them. So three of the key scientists associated with this, they're also part of Chandrayaan-2. Those same people, they were part of this mission as well. And apart from this, again, main learning हमारे लिए यही है कि failures shouldn't be ignored, or we need not stop after failures. We need to rise up again, learn from the lessons that we have learned and work upon them. So with 7 megawatt solar power plant, Pune CME is India's first carbon negative garrison. So carbon neutral नहीं, carbon negative लिखा हुआ है word. So here we see कि जो पुणे based College of Military Engineering है, उन्होंने बोला कि with the commissioning of 5 megawatt solar power plant taking its solar power generation capacity to 7 megawatt, it has become India's first carbon negative garrison or the military formation. सो ये कहीं ना कहीं जो भी मतलब एनर्जी कंजम्पशन होगा उसमें जितना भी कार्बन रिलीज होता था वो तो ये रिड्यूस करेगा ही करेगा, बट आसपास के एरियाज में भी अगेन इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले कर सकते हैं. सो दैट्स व्हाई कार्बन नेगेटिव इज द वर्ड दैट इज बीइंग यूज्ड. सो ओवरऑल जो कार्बन एमिशंस हैं उसको भी ये रिड्यूस करेगा, नॉट जस्ट न्यूट्रलाइज जितने भी कार्बन एमिशन सो फार हुआ है, बट दिस वुड आल्सो हेल्प इन रिडक्शन द कार्बन एमिशंस. तो इंडिया की न्यू कार सेफ्टी रेटिंग्स यहाँ पे इन डिटेल हमने अगेन बात कर चुके हैं एनसीएपी के बारे में. क्या चेंजेस रिक्वायर्ड हैं, व्हाई वी आर फोकसिंग अपॉन दिस, क्या हमारे लिए फ्यूचर में बेनिफिट्स होंगे, दिस वी हैव ऑलरेडी गॉन थ्रू. जो स्टार रेटिंग्स इंट्रोड्यूस की जाएगी, बाकी कंट्रीज में कैसा सिस्टम फॉलो किया जाता है, उससे इंडिया क्या लर्न कर सकता है. So this we've already taken up in detail. If you missed that article, you can just go through this one or you can take a screenshot and read it. So an ISRO veteran speaks कि what Chandrayaan 3 success means for India. So ये भी हमने कहीं ना कहीं we have touched upon this topic as well. And आने वाले टाइम में again इसके क्या multiplier effect रहेंगे, क्या repercussions रहेंगे for India, even for the domestic industry, how it is going to be playing such an important role. So globally भी again India has made a mark. So role of MSMEs in India's economic growth. This is the question that you will be writing upon an answer. So this is the global optimism. We are seeing कि global optimism देखने मिल रहा है, confidence in the Indian economy. So इस time period पे ऐसा जब the global environment is such a positive ecosystem is there. So again MSMEs के लिए how they can leverage it and how again even in our domestic growth important role can be played by it. So continued supply side measures, they are essential to prevent spiraling of food supply shocks. This has been said by RBI. So मैंने previously भी I have said on this topic कि inflation के पीछे जो reason है वो समझना, सबसे पहले उसको समझना, identify करना important है instead of टॉकिंग अबाउट कि कौन सी पॉलिसी आनी चाहिए. तो पहले आपको रीजन के बारे में क्लैरिटी होगी, सप्लाई साइड डिस्ट्रप्शंस की वजह से इन्फ्लेशन हो रही है कि डिमांड साइड की वजह से हो रही है, तो अकॉर्डिंगली विल डिसाइड कि कौन सी पॉलिसी, वेदर इफेक्ट मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी और फिस्कल पॉलिसी कौन सी ज्यादा इफेक्टिव पॉलिसी होने वाली है. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us and do subscribe to the channel. Keep watching.